Welcome to the DrivingMaul show. Hi, I'm Paul. I'll be your host here on New Zealand Sport Radio this evening. Don't forget that you can listen to us as a podcast, such as New Zealand Sport Radio on your favourite podcatcher, as well as watching the show live at 8 p.m. on Mondays, either on our Facebook page, YouTube channel, or Twitter account at DrivingMaul, which is also the place to join me during games to have a chat as well. And the title of this weekend's games is quite clearly Painting the Cards Red. I think that's what I called it, something like that anyway, because yes, we had 4 red cards in the first 4 games this weekend, and then unfortunately didn't get the 5th red card in the 5th game, which I was at. So I was at a couple of games, I think, was it 2 or 1 game? 1 game this weekend, sorry. I was up at Eden Park for the Blues versus Moana Pacifica, backing up from being at Mount Smart Stadium on Tuesday night for the Blues. For Moana Pacifica, hosting the Blues there in that one. Other stuff we'll have a quick chat about. There's been the Women's Six Nations on over the weekend. The news from the Jaguares out of Argentina, as well as Black Ferns news and Rugby World Cup news as well. So we'll go through all of that during the show. Just one thing I need to do, though, is to put on my lollylay that I got given by one of the players who was his debut on Tuesday night, and love the tradition of lollylays, and is clearly friends and family gave him some lollylays, and he gave me one, which was very nice, and a photo of me and him together, celebrating that his debut out there on the old socials. So yes, let's just quickly knock off some news then. So news has come out that the Jaguares, apparently the new, what's the guy's name? I've gone a blank. But the new Argentinian rugby chairman, Gabriel Travaglini, has apparently said that he wants Jaguares back in Super Rugby, which will be an interesting one. Hey, Robbie, good to see you joining me in the live chat there over on Facebook. Look, he's an ex-player, but let's be honest, I can't see the Jaguares going back into Super Rugby now. It's Super Rugby Pacific. I think that ship has sailed, and they need to concentrate on that Premier League South America, and also some sort of Champions League crossover competition with Major League Rugby going forward. So I'm a great believer that club competitions should be within time zones. And so I think the idea that the Americas all having one set of club competitions, sort of Europe and Africa having a set of club competitions, and then the New Zealand, Australia, and Japan having a bunch of club competitions. And as Robbie says, bring back the Sunwolves. Look, whether it's the Sunwolves or some other way of working with the top league teams over in Japan, but yes, I do think Japan needs to be included into Super Rugby Pacific somehow going forwards on that one. So looking forward to how we can do that, and trying to kind of push for that with what little power, pushing power I kind of have on this team. Simon reckons no to the Sunwolves, bringing the top 2 teams in the top league. Actually, what I think I would like to see is a bit like the structure we have in New Zealand here, but where you use the top league as the NPC, get them playing in the second half of the year for the non-internationals, and then create some Super Rugby teams that play in the first one with that. So that's what I would look at having for Super Rugby, is having a brand new set of teams, 4 or 5 teams over the top of the top league teams, in the same way that Super Rugby is over the top of the what do you call them? Blank the provinces. Robbie in the live chat asked me, "Where's your rugby league jerseys?" Sorry, mate, I'm the rugby union guy, and so hence I have all my rugby union jerseys behind me. What have we got there? I've got Northland, Wellington, Taranaki, Hurricanes jersey, North Harbour and England jersey, and an All Blacks jersey. I've got a couple hanging up over there, Blues, Lions. But you'll find that Brad and Richie are our league guys, and they have their Warriors jerseys hanging up in the background. So that's where you'll catch the league news on a Wednesday night with the standoff show brought to you by Brad and Robbie. So join us at 8 p.m. for that one on Wednesdays. So I don't think the Hanging Warriors coming back, but interesting to see that that's what they want to do. The Black Ferns have announced that I've gone absolutely blank, so I will go over to the page we're going to open. Wayne Smith, that's right, has been appointed to support the coaching team there, which is great to see. They're going to need all the help they can get, to be honest, up against the sort of professional sides in England and France. So good to see that he is helping them out. Also, there were rumours that Ted would also be involved as well. So we'll see if he is getting on a bit as Ted. But hey, he might be able to do something in there. It might be also get involved. Look, his involvement with Auckland had some very good results in the NPC a couple of years ago when he first joined as well. So they're bringing in the heavy hitters there on into the into the Black Ferns coaching setup to try and improve that side of things. So that's what's going on with the on the Black Ferns side of things, and also in that one there is I guess that obviously leads on to the Rugby World Cup, which is also being held, or the women's version, and it's going to be held later this year here in New Zealand. The 2021 one being held in 2022. 2023 is in France. 2025, which is the women's version, will be held in England, or they're the preferred bidder at the moment. Preferred bidders then are for the next two after that, for the men's and the women's, is currently Australia, back to back in the same country, and they're looking at doing the same thing again, I think, for the USA after that as well, is kind of the rumor. So that's really the kind of where we're looking at where it looks like the Rugby World Cups are heading. Say New Zealand, then it's going to be sort of France, England, Australia, USA, by the looks of things in that one. Simon keeping us up to date with the Rugby World Cup qualification process for the 2023. Looks like Hong Kong have pulled out of that one, being South Korea and Malaysia, the last two involved in that. From memory, they then play Tonga, don't they, with the loser going on to the repechage situation in that one. So that's how that's our Rugby World Cup news, bringing us round to that. And I was hoping that by now Stephen Harris would have joined me, but clearly he is running late, or looks like it might be a solo show for the whole thing. But I'll just give him a quick chase up on the old Facebook Messenger to see if he's joining me. On that one. But let's then crack on into the rugby for the weekend on that one. The just quickly with Robbie there. What's my opinion of the Warriors signing former Cook Island captain Carlos Vizza? Look, I haven't got a clue, mate. I'm not a league guy, to be honest. Yeah, join us on Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. for the standoff show and ask that Warriors question to the boys there, and they will give you a good answer on that one. But it's rugby union only tonight for the DrivingMaul show. So yeah, we kicked off on Friday nights with the Crusaders versus the. I'll say, well, let's roll back further than that, because on Tuesday night, I say we had the Moana versus the Blues. In that one, Blues rocketing out to a 19-0 lead in that one. So they did have a good start, did Moana, but they couldn't get any points on the board in that first 2 minutes, and then the Blues really hammered their advantage home, and went through through that one. A little bit of rain in the second half. It didn't help things with that one, to be honest. We did get a red card in the second half of that game with Lualala clearing out to the head, and that set a precedent for the next 4 games, as we'll go through. The Moana did come back into it, and the real turning point in this game was a line-out maul where the hooker got called for double movement. Was he crawling over? Was it momentum players on top of him that carried him over? Where the referee decided no, it was crawling, and once that one got ruled out, that was really the turning point in that one. A lot of line-out mauls in this one, and something that actually the head coaches were asked about post-game in this one. Remember, this was off the back of them playing a game on Friday night, so where they beat the Hurricanes, and the Blues obviously played on Saturday. So a quick turnaround for both teams. But the Blues got a lot more depth than Moana. Let's be honest with that one. So not a surprising result in the end, 19-32 to the Blues. If you would like to see the best bits of the post-match interviews, including including players Solomone Kata. We had a good long interview with him, and me also talking to Lincoln McClutchy and how he's been settling in and how he's finding the step up to that. Then head over to patreon.com /NZ Sport Radio to become a supporter of NZ Sport Radio, and you can watch either the video or listen to the audio of all those interviews, all the best bits of the interviews of the post-match between Moana and the Blues in that one, because I was there at that game, as I can see by this one. Stephen Harris apparently fell asleep, which is why he's not on the show yet, but he will be joining us. Don't worry on that one. Look at the festival atmosphere there. That's the first time Moana had a crowd in there. I think they were looking at about 3,000. So not a big crowd by any stretch. I think there's lots of people still. Well, A, it's not had much time to be marketed, and B, lots of people sort of still wary around COVID about going out and stuff for these sort of things. So we'll see how those crowds grow. They don't get to play at home again until May, so it's quite a long time until they get their next home game. Which is a shame, because obviously they can't follow up on that momentum, and it's quite a big gap until that next game for Moana Pacifica. Which is going to be when is that one? So that one is on the weekend of the 7th of May. There, I'm not sure if I'll be going to that game or to the Chiefs game on that night, because there's 2 games back to back on the Saturday, which is a bit of a shame. I can't be in 2 places at once to make both of those. Good evening, Stephen Harris. How are you doing, sir?
Yeah, good evening, Paul. Sorry, viewers, that I'm a bit late this evening, but hey, I got here, and as always, it's a privilege and a pleasure to be here, Paul, even though a tad late.
Thank you very much. Let me get a quick drink of my gin and tonic to water the old voice cords as well, which was getting a bit dry from all of that talking. Rory says, am I supporting Moana? Look, I think we're all supporting Moana as our favourite second team, if not our first team. Wanting them to do well. One of the things is Moana has been kind enough to, basically give me the media access to those games. Stephen and I were both at the pre-season game. And so far, I have only missed one game that Moana Pacifica have ever played, including their pre-game. That was one that they played against the Crusaders down in Dunedin. Living in Waihi, that was a bit too far for me to travel for that one. But so this Friday, unfortunately, their game against the Highlanders was my second game I've missed ever of Moana. But they are fun to watch, aren't they, Stephen?
Absolutely. I think they just bring a renewed excitement into this particular competition, and and I think we've always known Auckland probably being the biggest Pacific, having the biggest Pacific Island population in the South Pacific. You were always going to draw a lot of supporters out to support this team once they got up and running. But I think they've all surprised us with their performances, Paul.
Yeah, they have. In the last two results where they've lost those games, we've expected those. And actually, what a question for you. Actually, I'm going to dive in this question for you. Who do you think is more likely to win another game, the Fijian Drua or the Moana Pacifica?
Based on what I've seen, I've got to say probably Moana Pacifica. Unfortunately for the Fiji Drua, I think they're capable of some amazing stuff, but just based on in and around their set pieces, there's a lot of work to be done there, Paul.
Yeah, I agree. And also, if you look at the teams that they've got to face as well, I mean, the Fijian Drua have only got a couple of games, and then it's all New Zealand games from then on in. They do play each other, which is actually over in Australia. Unfortunately, it would be nice to have that one in Mount Smart that I can get to, but I can't. So that game will be over in Australia. So that could be the next win for both of these sides. Actually, it could be that when they face each other. But you've got to say that, as you say, I think Moana Pacifica are looking like perhaps like the stronger of the two, which is a bit of a surprise, really, when the Fijian Drua have had more time, or actually, they both got confirmed at the same time, but they've got various sevens and Olympians in that squad, and also they've been together, I think, for longer than Moana Pacifica. The Moana Pacifica, I think, was still playing in NPC when the Fijian Drua got together. So I did think that they had a better chance, a better setup, better chance. But it does appear, as you say, that the Moana Pacifica setup seems to be getting better out of their players earlier at this point on that one.
Paul, I was going to say something I probably should share. I did have a telephone conversation with Dale McLeod, who took control of the team on the weekend against the Blues, and he said COVID has been a little twofold for them. Whilst it's been disruptive, it's also been a blessing in disguise, because it's actually kept the guys isolated, where they can basically focus on their day-to-day training and just learn about being professionals, whether it's got things to do with their diet, sleep, a whole lot of work-ons that go in and around being a professional rugby player. And so having the guys together has been absolutely fantastic. On the downside, having missed a few, what was it, the first 2 or 3 rounds, it means that they're going to have to play catch-up games along the way. And of course, COVID has entered the squad, and it's created a few problems where they've had to bring extra players in from outside the squad. But I'm really impressed with the way even the guys that have come in from outside the squad have stood up.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a friend of the show, Dwayne Poliativo, one of 3 players to sort of turn up on Tuesday and go straight into the squad the same day that they joined the squad. So without even a training session, just the captain sort of walk through, they were straight into the side. So and if you listen to the some of the stuff that some of the stuff that's come out sort of from Liam McDonald, when they've been bringing players in, the fact that there was that NPC didn't get played in sort of the Auckland area, and then also that the club competitions haven't kicked off yet, means there's a lot of players who have been brought in with 0 rugby under their belts, and so getting them conditioned and ready for contact is proving a problem. And so having all of the club competitions being pushed back to start in sort of May or late April, it has definitely made it difficult for all the outside players coming in to this. But you have been seeing some. You've been getting around the ground, seeing some sort of pre-season club stuff that is going on.
Oh, very much so. Last couple of weekends, I've been out. A week ago, popped out and saw Waitakere play. Excuse me, North Shore, current North Harbour Club champions. Too strong for Waitakere. And on the weekend, I know another friend of the show, Boa Athu, who's involved with the Manukau Rovers Club, caught up with Boa on the weekend out at Waitemata Park, where Manukau took on Waitemata. And boy, I've got to say, Doug Samst, who's the new Manukau Rovers rugby coach, has got a lot of players back who have gone to some of the traditional bigger clubs, hence College Rifles, Gravitech, Ponsonby University. A lot of those players have returned to College Rifles, and they've had a big squad that's been that's actually had a really good pre-season, and it showed. And once upon a time, probably if you go back to the 70s, Manukau Rovers used to be one of the big clubs in the Auckland area. Every now and again, you saw a lot of their potential come through. Even the likes of All Black centre Frank Bunt's probably their most famous player to come out of the club. But they've always had some quality players that have come through the Manukau system, but have ended up going to other clubs. So they've always managed to nurture a lot of talent, but the problem has been, as we know, Paul, just hanging on to that talent. And I've got to say, they looked pretty good. They could certainly shake up the Auckland club competition in 2022.
Don't tell anyone. Don't let the other clubs know what's happening. But yes, there is that there. Robbie asks, can only Pacific players play for Moana? No, Moana Pacifica is basically like 80%, or the majority of their players should be eligible for Samoa, Tonga, or the Cook Islands, but it's not a hard, fast rule. That's a target more than anything else. Do you think that players such as Kopi Kepu, Christian Leali'ifano, both Australian tied? I'm not sure if they, with the new year thing, they may have after 3 years they can change, potentially change. So I'm not sure if it's been 3 years since both of them have played for the Wallabies. Lincoln McClutchy is only eligible for New Zealand. And Tonamati Totoa Nawai is Fijian. So the majority of them are, but it's not a hard rule. It's a target more than anything else. I do believe they will live with or stick to. Anyway, that Crusaders Highlanders game was the first one on Friday. With the Highlanders jumping out to a lead, the Crusaders dragging them back. Only a Mitch Hunt missed penalty kept the Crusaders ahead, and then it was a lot of defending, basically a stalemate in that second half with no points in the second half, which is rare to see. That's for certain. We had a red card on 77 minutes, shoulder to the head, and I don't think we can. There was no questions about that one, really. He's come in as second tackler, no arms at all, shoulder charge into the head, bang, red card. Just like there was no arguments about the one in the Moana versus Blues game on Tuesday night either. And so 2 red cards in a few days to set the tone going. Stephen, any other thoughts from that Crusaders Highlanders game?
Yeah, there's not too many occasions that we talk about a game where all the points were scored in the first half, and of course no scoring in the second half. But there should have been, because there were more opportunities for the Highlanders, and I think they'll look back at this game as a missed opportunity. Paul, a lot of, they probably made the 3 or 4 decent breaks in the game, but just never got players in the right position. One break that comes to mind was Shannon Frizzell with a big break up the centre and just completely ran away from his support, and hence the opportunity was lost. But there were also numerous occasions now that they'd look back on it. Maybe instead of kicking to the corner, they should have taken the 3 points on offer, but there was also 3 points missed from a very, very handy position. And Crusaders nowhere near the best. I think they were really there for the taking, and real missed opportunity. But when when things aren't going your way, Paul, it usually plays out like that, and that's how 2022 seems to be playing out for the Highlanders.
Yeah, look, 65% territory in that possession, in that second half, but only 41% territory. So the Crusaders did a good job of keeping the Highlanders in their own half and making them play from a long way out on that one. The Crusaders, 177 tackles made, 94% tackle accuracy. So again, they tackled their hearts out there, just missing 11 tackles compared to the Highlanders, who missed 25 tackles, only making 68. So Highlanders tackling not great. The Crusaders very, very good, and the Crusaders just good at keeping the Highlanders at arm's length and making them play from parts of the pitch they didn't want to play from, basically. And so, good game management from the Crusaders. But as I say, one of those kicks or choosing to kick at goals could easily have got the Highlanders back into this one there. But after the Crusaders' impressive performance against the Chiefs the previous weekend, not so much this weekend. And look, we've seen a lot of up and down performances from teams. Having coaches being available and unavailable, having players being unavailable due to COVID. This is unfortunately what we're going to see for this season. I think it's not going to be the best quality of Super Rugby seasons. We followed that one up with the Drua versus the Waratahs. The Waratahs basically used their line-out maul to get themselves ahead, especially just after the Drua lost their captain, their number 8 and their captain, to a red card. Again, our head-eye tackle with his arm, and another red all day long. No arguments about it. And then the Drua just left themselves way too much to basically make any kind of comeback.
Yeah, a lot of similarities to a couple of other games that they've been involved with in in previous rounds. Of course, the Rebels something similar. They couldn't get it together going, especially in and around their set piece. And once again, there is a little bit of a trend with the Fijian Drua at the moment. They're just giving teams just far too much of a head start, which is a real shame because we know what sort of rugby they can play when they get it right. But I think at the moment, two things stand out for me. Just the set piece not being accurate enough. And I also think there's just a little bit of lack of respect for holding on to the pill. They spill a lot of ball. And when you're doing that, you just can't piece any pressure together. And listen, for the Waratahs, they're showing a very, very improved team, not just in and around their forward play, but they've also been quite expensive as well. And whilst they actually, it was through their forwards where they fully took control of that game, I was actually just delighted to see them giving the ball a little bit more width, especially in the second half.
Yeah, and they really dominated that first half, which laid the foundation. It was all over really, the Tars, the most improved team this season. Look, there's sort of some way to go to be at the level of the Reds and the Brumbies, but they're kind of the best of the rest in Australia at the moment. There, as you say, Fiji and Drua, discipline, real problem. 16 penalties in this one, folks. A few too many there. But I mean, staggering number of lineouts in this one. We had 33 lineouts in this game. That's only one every 2 minutes, which is quite amazing. And when you've got more lineouts and you've had kicks from hand, you kind of wonder. The players are definitely getting dicing with that sideline too much. And as you say, a bit of not respecting the pill by the Fijians, who got forced into touch too many times as well on that one.
I was thinking, Paul, too, given the weakness of the Drua line out, I think anybody playing them wouldn't be too afraid to actually make sure that the ball was put over the touchline for a couple of reasons. Because A, you don't want them to counter attack by keeping the ball in play, and secondly, you can put their line out under pressure. So it's a simple recipe.
Yep, absolutely. On to Saturday then, we had the Blues versus Moana. which I was at. Look, I mean, Moana again started this one really well. 19 phases to kick this game off, but unable to, and only coming away with the penalty. Kicked over a couple of penalties, and then the Blues basically had their turn. I mean, look, 4 penalties in the first 9 minutes really did hurt the Blues then, but they managed to sort of right the ship after that one, and only 6 penalties in the rest of the game, the next 70 minutes. Their line-out maul again, a hat trick from Kurt Eklund. And if you would like to hear Kurt Eklund after the game, again, head over to New Zealand Sport, head over to patreon.com/NZ Sport Radio, where you can have a listen to that one. It was all pretty close up until just before half time. 22-16, Moana kind of in it, and then a try on half time by Boris Heen, followed by an Eklund's try just after half time, and suddenly it's 36-16, and the game has disappeared. One of the things that you're hearing from Moana is that they're getting used to this. They don't tend to get used to this fact that you can't switch off, and if you do switch off for a few minutes, that's what happens, and the game's gone.
Yeah, very, very much so, Paul. Listen, I think if we think back earlier in the week when they when they played that the Tuesday night game at Mount Smart, something that they did very well was I thought their kicking game was very good. They often found land as opposed to hand, and they had a good chase line, got up, they put a lot of pressure on the Blues. So they brought their physical type of game that they have in terms of their defence right into the game. Unfortunately, when they turned ball over, they basically just threw it out blind and thought, gee, we'll try and move it. But up against a Blues team that I thought had very good line speed and put a lot of pressure on the pass. In fact, I think I can recall even a couple of intercepts, Kurt Eklund picking off a pass from a turnover as well. Yeah, just decision making as well hurt the visitors.
Yeah, and you look at 15 penalties conceded by Moana. One of the things that Dale McLeod said in the post-match was that when they kept their penalties down to 8, they won the game. That was against Hurricanes. But at the moment that's just letting them, they're just not being able to stay in the game because of those sort of things. Now, we had the red card in this one with Caleb Clark jumping up in the air to try and block the kick, and then taking out, I've gone blank as to the player's name. I should have it somewhere here, but I don't.
Was it Tomasi?
Yeah, that's right. Sorry, I think Tomasi, and knocking him out.
Yeah.
So let's just hear quickly from Dale McLeod as to how Tomasi was after that incident. He says, "Can he come up?"
Tomasi. Yeah, look, he can remember the call, the move we were running, but as soon as he got the ball, then bang, he can't remember nothing. I just talked to him in the shed then. He's good as gold. He's had a shower. He's a bit of a swollen face, but yeah, he can't remember nothing. Post catching the ball and running down the short side.
Have you got a view on that red card?
Oh, look, there was no malice in it. And his view was he said to me, he must have been bad if he got a red card. And I said, no, the reason he got the red card was because he was negligent about where he jumped. And if you know Caleb, he's not a malice person. He wouldn't go intentionally to try and maim someone. So it's rugby, and like you get anybody in that situation, they're jumping up to try and create a bit of time, buy themselves some time. And they didn't get it right. When you're in the air, you can't control much, and he's a powerful athlete that when he launched himself in the air, and he's a big man, it was an accident, and that's about all you can put it down to, really.
So there you go. A lot of people saying that he was just jumping in the air to try and block the kick. He was to a certain degree, but he also knew that he was putting himself in a place to try and make the other player run round him, to slow that player down, as he says, to create, and he just got it slightly wrong, and that's what happened. If you listen to Leon McDonald's side of it as well, he said, look, perhaps we have to change our technique around this, which shows that this is a trained thing that they're doing in training as to how to do this. So he wasn't. It's not. This isn't a kind of snap decision as to what do I do in this situation. They've trained for this. What they're saying is, you put your body in this position. The guy has to run around you, and he just said, yeah, perhaps a bit too athletic from Caleb Clark to be able to get his hip up to head height, which I couldn't jump that high. Let's be honest. And yeah, horrible consequences to what happened. Yeah, clearly he wasn't there to take the player out, but he was there to take the space, and that's the problem, and that's why it's a red card.
Yeah, you're no, absolutely no argument from me, and he's propelling himself forward as well. I mean, it's like great athleticism. I have enough trouble just getting out of the bed, let alone trying to jump that high. Just amazing. That's he's probably almost getting himself off the ground by a good couple of meters or so. But it was dangerous, and you did right, Paul. You've actually you've basically got to make sure that you not only put yourself in a safe place, but also the player who's running at you.
Yep, absolutely. And that's what's all over on NZ Sport Radio for that our Patreon section for all those post-match interviews. You can hear Leon's version of it as well, and they both talk about discipline and how important that is, as well. Also, in this game, at the beginning of this game, sorry, I should have I forgot to mention the Blues have only ever in their entire 26 or 27 or 25 or how many years it is now that Super Rugby's been around for. I've only ever done 2 pre-match hackers. The first one was for the British Irish Lions back in 2017. And the second one was on Saturday for Moana Pacifica. They've never done one for the Crusaders, Highlanders, or any of those sort of teams. They didn't do one for the Jaguares or for the Sunwolves when they joined the competition. They've not done one for any Australian teams or South African teams or any other sides they've ever played for, only for the British Irish Lions and Moana Pacifica. And I think that shows you the respect that they paid. They paid this team, and how much this means to them, and how much this crosstown rivalry, the 2 closest teams in Super Rugby history, is how it's going to grow.
Yeah, Paul, I was going to say, even in the team, obviously it was a case of a lot of mates playing each other as well. But from what I believe, there was also a couple of sets of flatmates playing against each other as well. So I wonder who was cooking breakfast on Sunday morning after that game, or shouting breakfast, shall I say?
There you go. I knew there were mates playing each other. I didn't realize it was that close. But there we go. So it was a great sign of respect from them, and for that one, Dale did say that perhaps they should have had one back, but they've clearly they've got a lot of things to sort out, and getting the challenge ready comes after actually being ready to play games, and so I think they will have their own challenge ready. It won't be a hacker; it'll be a merger of the Samoan and Tongan, maybe even Cook Islands as well in there. But we'll have to wait and see as to what comes from that one. I was driving back for the Reds versus the Brumbies, and I've caught highlights of this one. The Reds coming out on top 21-7, but this wasn't 3 tries to 1. It was 2 tries to 1 with James O'Connor kicking over some penalties as well. But I think the impressive thing probably in here is how, again, we had another red card. Again, this one again for cleaning out the player and into the head. Again, no arguments at all in this one. And if you but they in that time they still stretched the lead over the Brumbies. And yeah, impressive performance by the Reds against Brumbies in this one, I think.
You always felt once when Tuilima, the blindside flanker, got his red card, you thought to yourself, well, it's only 20 minutes, and if the Reds could hang in there for 20 minutes, they'd definitely find themselves a chance. Well, they got a little bit of a bonus when Fraser McWright scored just after a half time, and that was converted by James O'Connor, and that took it out to 13-7. And of course, 5 minutes later, Rob Valentini gets a yellow card, and I think that just gave the Reds that extra momentum. And I think on the back of their home crowd as well, they lifted. But once again, some really good performances from Taniela Tupou as well. Gee, he's certainly damaging with ball in hand. A couple of the teams both missing good players as well. Of course, Tom Banks not in the team, but Jesse Mogg came in and did a reasonable job. But we all know what a good player Tom Banks is when he dons that Brumbies jersey. And of course, in the Reds team, Hunter Paisami, always a real threat. And I thought Jordan Pataya at the back at fullback is just gets better and better. One real memorable run up the middle of the paddock, but once again seemed to be the order of the weekend. Players making brilliant breaks, but running away from their support.
Well, yes, an element of that. And one thing about Jordan Pataya, look, he came onto the scene, as far as I'm concerned, just before the Rugby World Cup last year as an outside centre, got injured and didn't go to the Rugby World Cup in the end, but was like, wow, this kid's going to be great there. Played a lot of wing since then, and people say, oh yeah, actually fullback's going to be his position. And finally, he's getting a run in that in a jersey, which I think is good to see. And look, the Wallabies have got options at the wings. Fullback, that 15 jersey is open at the moment. Neither Hodge or Banks has really taken a grip of that 15 jersey, basically ever since Dane Howlett-Petty and Folau have both disappeared off for different reasons. That 15 jersey has been up for grabs, and yeah, maybe that is where Pataya is going to be for the Wallabies and own that jersey for the next best part of 10 years, maybe.
Paul, just a couple of final thoughts on the performance from the Brumbies. I think they had the winning of this game, but I just think they tried far too many offloads, just with a bit of moisture around, and it was those offloads that eventually killed them in a lot of cases, because every time they offloaded, the Reds would always counter-attack from anywhere, and they did look dangerous. I think the Brumbies are a very, very structured side, but I think if you can break up their structure, that's where a lot of teams can attack them. And just that, and the other area I thought was the Reds breakdown work was outstanding as well. And boy, I think somebody like Tate McDermott can only get better and better. Just seems to know how to bully his forwards and keep them going forward.
Yeah, I mean, the Brumbies are only successful with 3 offloads all night. So, as you say, and 19 turnovers, which gives you an idea as to what's if they're throwing those offloads, you know what's going wrong there. And they also turned the ball over more at rucks as well, losing 6 rucks on the night, which is not good. Especially when the Reds only lost 1. So from that point of view, you've been turned over 6 times to 1 at the ruck time. As you say, they lost that battle, that key battle there. So the Reds ain't still not looking the kind of finished article that they were during Super Rugby AU last year, but they're getting the wins and they're getting the results, and they're slowly getting their players together, getting their combinations together, and slowly improving. So, look, both these sides at home, I think are going to be a threat to the New Zealand teams. Traveling over here, a bit of maybe a different ball game, but at home, I think they're going to cause some teams some problems in that one. Final game of the weekend was the Hurricanes versus the Chiefs. A bit of a strange one in the fact there wasn't a red card in this one. But this one looked at one point like the Chiefs have got it comfortable. Was with what I was feeling. Look, in that first half, it was close. with the sort of the Hurricanes always just keeping their noses in front, but the Chiefs always staying in touch. But they pulled out to a 15-30 lead with a quarter of an hour to go, and at that point, actually no, quarter of an hour to go. At that point, I was thinking, a 3-score lead with 50 minutes to go. That's nice and comfortable for the Chiefs. They've closed this one out since in that first period of second half, but it wasn't to be. 2 tries got it to be a 1-pointer, and it was close at the end there, Stephen.
Yeah, it was. It was a lot closer than I thought it was in the second half, because I actually thought in that first half, while the Hurricanes scrum on their own put on at their own put in was very good. I thought the Chiefs on their own put in applied a lot of pressure, especially on the right hand side. Angus Tarval giving Pody Raketi Stones a real tough time. On the loose head side, pulled a couple of penalties when it mattered, but it just also looked like the Chiefs were a little bit more dangerous whilst the Hurricanes started well, and TJ Perenara picking off that try relatively early, and you thought, when the first 3 tries came, you thought, well, it's going to be one of those games where tackling is optional, and like you rightly said in the rugby chat, it actually it settled down for a while, and then it basically somebody would light a match under it every now and again, and away we went. It got into a little bit of a war of attrition, and at half time we may have thought, gee, much of the same again, but it was the Chiefs that came out rolling in the second half. And I just want to highlight a couple of players. We can recall Lachlan Beshear, who was very, very good when he played for the Taranaki team, and also when he came into the Chiefs. But we're seeing his younger brother, Callum Beshear, who's putting his hand up on the blind side of the scrum. But we're also seeing a more consistent level of rugby also from Gus Sawakula as well. And boy, off the back of that strong platform, he gives you a lot to go forward. And there was one run there, I think it might have been a good 30-odd metres or so to get them over the gain line. And with a team like the Chiefs, if you're going to get that sort of front foot ball, they got a lot of options out wide.
They do. It's a bit surprising to say that they only got 18% territory in that second half, which didn't feel like that to me. They had a lot of possession. They had more possession, 60, but clearly willing to play out of their own half. As you say, Beshear scoring off Sawakula off the back of the scrum was what really put them ahead, and then Tia finishing behind the post. And I thought that whole period that it had been Chiefs for quite a lot. It had been all Chiefs then, but I say the territory would suggest otherwise in this one. At the end of the day, you don't have to be down the other end for very long if you score off it pretty quickly. If you score after 1 or 2 phases, you don't need to lots of territory. It all comes down to what you do with it at the end of the day. The Chiefs were just and only just held out in this one. Again, kicking percentages, the difference in this one, 67% by the Hurricanes. So missing a conversion that would have been enough to win it. The Hurricanes scored 4 tries to only 3 by the Chiefs, for example. And I think there might have been a penalty or 2 miss as well. The Hurricanes had the winning of this one, but the Chiefs managed to grit it out and finish the game off, which will be a relief to them. This kind of reinforces our thoughts that it's basically the Crusaders followed by the Chiefs and Blues, and that those 3 so it's basically either the Chiefs or Blues will be joining the Crusaders in the final. I think it's pretty much our expectation as to how this competition is going to go. The Hurricanes and as we've seen with the Highlanders, they're going to be off the pace on this one. Nocturnal Right saying Geordie was okay at 12, but he's less influential on attack for the Hurricanes. What are your thoughts about how well about how Geordie went at 12?
Well, I think he's made it pretty clear he wants to have a crack from there, because if you look at the way Will Jordan is playing at the moment, I think you could virtually put a ring around Will Jordan as your number 15 in that All Black team. But I think there is an opportunity at this very moment in the 12 jersey. Obviously, we've got Josh Goodhue returning. I think I've probably seen enough of David Havili to think to myself he was adequate there, but I'd probably just leave it at adequate. So there's an opportunity. One thing I do like about Geordie Barrett, there was one thing that really impressed me. There was a move there that the Chiefs pulled out with a delayed runner, and whilst they were caught offside, Geordie Barrett actually read the move absolutely perfectly, and he does bring a bit of physicalness when he does carry. So for me, we know he's got a kicking game. I think he's going okay. I think he can only get better. Only problem that he's got, he is playing behind a Hurricanes team or Hurricanes pack that, as we saw, does struggle a little at times up front. There were times that I thought that the Chiefs were absolutely monstering them.
Yeah, look, I think to me, occasionally it looked like he was looking around to see where should I be standing. Now, I think he's been used to playing 15, quite often used to coming in to play that first receiver role and take the pressure off Ruben Love, particularly last year, that he's used to being first receiver or floating around the back. He's not used to being second receiver. And I think he maybe a couple of times just wasn't sure where he should be standing. So I think from that point of view, he needs time in that jersey to get used to it. I don't think we can sort of judge him just off one game. Knoxville writes he's better as a rock at the 15. Yes, currently he is better as a rock at 15 because he's had no game time at 12. But you might remember a lot of us thought he was great as sort of an attacking and presence at 15, but tended to basically have a brain fart once or twice a game. And last year he kind of fixed that. So before that, everyone was like, no, he's always a couple of mistakes in him at 15. But time in that jersey, he fixed it. And I think he just needs time in the 12 jersey to get used to it and fix it, put bluntly. So good result for the Chiefs. Perhaps managed to dodge a bullet with that one, though. As I say, just one of those missed kicks and Hurricanes, and that's a different result on the night. Looking forwards, then next weekend I will be at the game in Hamilton. So the Chiefs versus the Blues for that one. As I say, I can't make it down to Dunedin for the Highlanders versus the Moana Pacifica, unfortunately. But you've got to expect that the Highlanders will be looking at this as a major opportunity for them to get the first win of the season in this one. Look, Moana have been battling, have been have impressed us with their attitude, but traveling down to Dunedin, I think it's a different task entirely for them, and just when you listen to how many coaches and analysts and people they had out last week. And we saw with the Chiefs in their game at Hamilton against who did they play the previous week? I've gone blank now. They had a picture of Clayton McMillan up, whereas Moana Pacifica at Swindler Eden Park had 3 pictures up in the coaches box because of players. So essentially, as I say, if you go and listen to the videos, the interviews over on patreon.com/NZ Sport Radio. Dale McLeod says, we were just trying to get through to Saturday and actually have one coach well. So, they really were stretched to things, and that's going to take its toll over time. So let's hope they can get as many people back on board. Perhaps not scrum halves, though, because we want to give Dwayne a go and get a decent run out for him.
I was going to say, if you're down in Dunedin, get along and watch. If you're not supporting the Highlanders, get along and watch Moana Pacifica, because they do play a very exciting brand of rugby, and they are a very, very, very physical team to play against.
The Chiefs versus Crusaders. That's obviously when Clayton McMillan was missing. The Moana then have got to back up on Tuesday with the game against the Hurricanes down in Wellington. So they're down in Dunedin on Friday night and in Wellington on Tuesday night. I don't know if they're going to go do a mini tour, or if they're flying home in between those two. But either way, it's a bit of a tough ask as they head into another storm week this weekend. And I think then on Easter weekend, they're back in Hamilton against the Chiefs, and I'll be at that game, which is a 4:30 kickoff for that one on the Saturday.
Tough ask, Paul. I was going to say tough ask for MP. 4 away games on the bounce if you count the Blues game on Saturday.
Yep, and a storm week where you're going Dunedin, Wellington, Hamilton as well. So it's going to be a tough ask. We'll just see how much they've got left in the tank after this, because they'll head over to because after that I think it's everyone heading over to what do you call it, to Melbourne for games. For that Super Round that they're trying to sell tickets for now, you can get a 1 day, 2 day, or 3 day pass for those 6 games over in Melbourne, which looks like a bit of a cracker. The nocturnal rights, yes. Oh dear me, Stephen. I just put your mute button on just in case there's any swearing at this. But Scott Gregory has moved from Northland down to Southland in this one. Stephen, very much a Tanifar fan. But I think this makes sense for someone who is, if you're playing your Super Rugby in Dunedin for basically 7 months of the year, do you want to be spending 3 months of the year up in Whangarei and basically living in a different house and renting a different house? Whereas if you're down in, if you choose an NPC province near your super franchise, at least you can live in one house, and you're not. It's just less disruptive to players, isn't it?
Yeah. Listen, I want to say all the very best to Scott Gregory. Be to say, he's been a sort of a big part of the Northern team in the last 3 or 4 seasons. Unfortunately, we haven't always seen the best of Scott in a Tanifar jersey, but we just want to wish him all the best. On saying that, we've actually done well. While we've lost 1 to Southland, we've actually gained 3 from Southland. And of course, announced today, Josh Morby, the Southland fullback last year, Chris Arpoa, the tight head prop for Southland, who is a Northland boy, and Milo Harris, who was the backup halfback in the Southland Stags and last year, have all transferred to the Northland Tanifar. So probably a bit of a 3-in-1 deal there, Paul. But like I say, all the best to Scott Gregory. Just remembering his wife is also from that region as well, so that may have played a part.
Absolutely, and the it's starting to feel that the provinces are starting to. I mean, I can't remember them. Look, I'm it's not necessarily been around that long, but these sort of out of season signings announcements seem like a new thing, and showing that the provinces perhaps turning more into. I mean, we've talked for quite a few years now that the multi-year contracts mean that how much does club form matter, and it's not the rep rugby in the old school sense where you played for your clubs and then then it was basically a selection of the best players from the clubs coming together to represent the province, and provincial rugby came around. It's becoming less and less of that now, and seeing these sort of out of season signings, as it were, sees the provinces sort of acting more like clubs in trying to maintain that connection with the fans and sort of drip feeding news to sort of keep all that going on. So I think it's an interesting development, and it's just I'm not saying it's good or bad. It's just it's moving with the times, and they're just becoming more professional like that.
Oh, very much so, Paul. I think a lot of unions are trying to stay ahead of the game. In the case of Northland, they had some strong player reviews after the 2021 season. So just a change in strategy, as opposed to leaving it about a month before the season ends and you're rushing around trying to sign players. They've already signed 28 players. They've only got 7 to sign, and I think they're leaving those gaps open for club players, or opportunity for club players, and maybe a few who were in the squad with a point to prove as well. I think they just want to try and hit the ground running.
Yep, but I said that they've always had for a number of years they've had these. Quite a lot of provinces have had these signs. I've heard of things like people saying, "Oh yeah, look, Waikato have only got 3 spots for club players this year," and stuff like that, heading into the club season. But this, I guess, the way that they're announcing it and making it more public, I think it's been kind of interesting as well. That it's perhaps the marketing is slowly improving of some of these provinces. So I think that's also hopefully it's a good sign, because let's be honest, we've been praying that the NPC and also Super Rugby marketing improves for a number of years now. Let's be honest. I guess quickly on the Women's Six Nations, I've not seen the games from the weekend, but unsurprisingly, wins for England and France. And then in the interesting game, congratulations to Wales for having a cracking season. Beat Ireland the previous weekend, and beat Scotland this weekend. So going well in that race to be best of the rest there with that one. With Wales, I think 50% of the team are full-time contractors and 50% are on retainers. So a big change for Wales this year, and Wales in Scotland's group come the Rugby World Cup in later this year as well. So a big win for them, and they are the most improved or the most impressive team this year. We know that England and France will go well. Yes, you're impressed, but you're expecting to be impressed, whereas Wales, perhaps the ones overachieving at the moment. Anything else around the rugby world, Stephen?
Yeah, I was just sort of thinking. I wondered if we actually finished off the rest of our picks in Super Rugby, Paul. I think we got to the Western.
Jeez.
Yeah, we got to the Western Force Rebels, but I think for me that's an easy one. Rebels travelling to Perth, so I think Western Force. We both agree with that. Yeah.
Hang on, we haven't even started any picks yet for the.
I thought you did the Highlanders Moana Pacifica game. Anyway.
Oh, we haven't given kind of numbers. So coming into round 8 then, as you say, Highlanders versus the Moana Pacifica. I'm expecting the Highlanders to get their first win of the season. So I'm going Highlanders by 5.
I'll go Highlanders 12 and over for that.
12 and over. Ooh. The Force up against the Rebels. The Rebels picking up their first win against the Fijian Drua last weekend. I went for the Drua there and got that wrong. Or the weekend before last, I got a bye last weekend. Sorry, but Western Force with wins beat the Rebels 25 points away. I'll back them by 10 at home because I think the Rebels have improved.
For me, Western Force by 12 and over.
Then on Saturday, the early game at 4:35, folks. So get home from your Saturday afternoon shopping early. The Canes versus the Crusaders. Sure, the Crusaders perhaps weren't as impressive with their win over the Highlanders last weekend, but I fully expect them to have too much for the Hurricanes, and I'll put Crusaders by 7.
I'm going 12 and over again.
Oh, you're going for big wins this weekend.
Yep.
I'll be at Waikato Stadium for the Chiefs versus the Blues. This should be a cracker. Last time the Blues won by 2 points up at Eden Park, and I will go Chiefs by 5 at home.
Yeah, I'll go Chiefs by 8 points at home. They're always tough down there. Blues haven't got a great record in Hamilton, and I can't see that changing anytime soon.
Fiji and Drua then host the Brumbies, coming off the back of their first loss of the season. The Brumbies I expect them to have way too much for the Fiji and Drua, and I'll go Brumbies by 15.
I'd actually agree with you, Paul. So
Cool. Makes a change. And then on Tuesday, actually, we'll have another show before this, but the Hurricanes, I think, will have too much from Moana Pacifica, who will be on that storm week. But I currently have them at Hurricanes by 7, but I think I'll probably push that out to probably about 14.
I'm gonna go 12 and under to the Hurricanes. I think fresh on their mind will be that loss at Mount Smart Stadium a couple of weeks ago. That'll probably still be front and centre, even though their first order of the day is the Crusaders on Saturday afternoon, evening. So Hurricanes to take the victory.
Well, perhaps I should wind it back to 10, actually, thinking about it, because you say they'll have to put out their first team against the Crusaders, so it will be a weakened Hurricanes side against Moana Pacifica, and you're quite. But there'll be no complacency this time. They will be taking their threes in the first half, which they didn't do last time.
You'd hope so for their sake.
Yep. So just wrapping up, folks. Johan Rugby has popped in and said Pacifica is solely inconsistent. Absolutely. And if you listen back to the early parts of the show, we explain why that is the case. But he does say URC was good for South African teams this weekend. And look, yes, it is good to see. And initially, the South African team struggled in URC, especially when they had to travel up to Europe. But now they're on having a few games on home turf. They've been going much better, which is great to see, making it more competitive in that one. In what's been a heavily disrupted tournament with the URC, a bit like Super Rugby has been as well. But let's wrap things up. Thank you very much, Stephen. And folks, we will catch you all next Monday at 8 p.m. for the DrivingMaul show.